Hello everybody, my name is Jackie and welcome to Prairie Sports Talk, the podcast where we talk about sports that directly impact the Canadian Prairie. Today is Wednesday, January 17th, 2024. We've got a lot to talk about. In the CFL, we've had 3 quarterbacks restructure their contract. We've had an unexpected retirement. We could have an unexpected return. And there is a player who I'm not exactly a big fan of, who might not be back next season. Then, in the WHL, the Swift Current Broncos made a major move the day after I recorded an episode saying they needed to make this exact move. Unfortunately, the move was also made the day before the episode went live. We'll talk about that. We will also talk about the fact the Broncos have put up 28 goals in 4 games. This is a special team. This is going to be a fun playoff run. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Let's get into it. What do Jake Maier, Trevor Harris, and Jeremiah Masoli all have in common? Simple. They've all restructured their contracts in the last week. Let's talk about them. So I'm not going to go too into depth on each contract. I'm basically just going to say the signing bonus and the base pay for each contract. So Jake Maier, his signing bonus, $150,000 with a $156,200 base salary. It's not a bad contract. The maximum value that he can get is $381,000 after incentives and all that other stuff that I'm probably not the best person to try and explain. I think it's a good deal, both for Calgary and Maier. Maier still has a lot to prove in this league. I think he's a good quarterback, but I'm also just some dude on the internet talking football. If I had armrests on my chair, I'd be the definition of an armchair coach. But regardless, I think it's a good signing. Maier is a talented player. He has a very high potential in the CFL. I think he is the future for the Stampeders. I know he had a rough season last year, but every quarterback has rough seasons. Besides, Calgary didn't exactly have the best offensive line. I mean, maybe they could convince Derek Dennis to come out of retirement again. I mean, Bone Crusher, he's a great player. I like the guy. I have very high respect for him. I would love to see him make just one more CFL run. I doubt it's going to happen, but Derek Dennis, if you're watching this, please, I am begging you, one more year. But enough of me begging. Let's move on to Jeremiah Masoli. He's starting to get up there, and he's kind of injury riddled, so it doesn't really shock me that he's restructured his contract with Ottawa for a lot less. Now, though other quarterbacks have this, I think it is notable to mention that Masoli does have a clause that will pay him an extra $5,000 per game if he plays 51% of the team's offensive snaps this season. I think that is very notable because of how much time he's missed over the last couple seasons. And I'm not blaming him in the slightest. Jared Marino laid a very dirty hit on him a few years back. And last season, it was just very, very unfortunate. It's football. Injuries are going to happen. But what happened to Masoli last season was a freak injury that I pray won't happen again. I think Masoli can still hang around in the league. He's a skilled quarterback. He was due to receive a $100,000 bonus on the 15th. So that was on Monday. He also but his new signing bonus that he received is $45,000, which is less than half of what he was going to be receiving if he didn't sign this. So props to him for accepting less money to give his team a better contract. He also will be he can earn up to $90,000 in playtime incentives through that 51% snap program, Mazzoli's a skilled quarterback. I think he still has one, maybe two more good seasons left in him. Can't wait to see what he can do this year. But on to Trevor Harris. Now, I'm not gonna lie. I'm a Rider fan. I don't exactly hide that. Like, not in the slightest. The Riders are my team. But I love the CFL in general, so I will do my best to keep my bias out of my Rider coverage. So, Trevor Harris, he's a player I've always been very, very high on. I've liked him since he came into the league with Toronto. I thought he should have started the Grey Cup that Ottawa won. I feel like, though in hindsight, it is probably best that Henry Boyce had started that Grey Cup. I think Harris can still bring a team to the Grey Cup. My question is the Riders that team? Corey Mace seems to think so. So does Jeremy O'Day. Those are the two most important people for this discussion. So, how does his salary look? Well, if he had kept his previous contract, he would have received a $250,000 signing bonus on February 1st. However, he is now making $189,500 in base salary. It does not look like that he received any form of a signing bonus. This took his total from $525,000 this season to just $500,300. That's a lot of cash still, and it's not a huge change, but it does somewhat help the Riders with any cap issues the team may feel they have, especially if the team intends to go after AJ Ouellette and any other All-Girls that Corey Mace may try to lure over to Riderville. I'm not overly sure what I think of this, honestly. It's not a huge change. I feel like Harris was being overpaid in the first place, and while he is making less money now, it's not enough of a smaller amount to justify restructuring the contract. It's good that we don't have to pay him the $250,000 bonus, but at the same time, it's not that much less when you look at the number totals. 3 Down Nation wrote excellent articles on all three of these. If you're watching on YouTube, the articles are linked down in the description. I highly recommend you go check them out if you want to learn more about the contract. But now let's get on to the unexpected retirement, the potential unexpected cut, and the potential surprise return. Alright, on to a retirement I was genuinely shocked by. Dane Evans recently retired. Dane Evans, he's had a solid career. I mean, unfortunately it's not Hall of Fame worthy, but he's been around for a while, a lot longer than I realized anyway. He's turning 30 this year. He's still pretty young, but he's retiring from professional football, and he's becoming a coach. Congratulations to Dane Evans for becoming a coach for the God, I am going to butcher this school's name, but the Owasso High School in Oklahoma. Congrats to him for that, honestly. I know a lot of players like to go back and coach high school football, maybe even move on to college eventually, and potentially even into the CFL, NFL, or the UFL. So congratulations to him. I wish him all the best in the future. I hope this career decision works out really well for him. Got nothing but respect for that man. He created some really good memories in the short while that he was around in the CFL, even if that short while was longer than I thought it was. But regardless, congrats to him. Good luck in the future. But on to his former teammate, a man who, if you know me, you know I'm not a big fan of. I'm not gonna pretend I like him. Simone Lawrence. Wow, the Rider fan doesn't like Simone Lawrence. Who would have saw that coming? But yeah, I feel like Lawrence has a dirty past, though he hasn't made any dirty plays in recent years. I feel like it's hard to move on from all the various Rider quarterbacks he injured over the years. But there is no guarantee he will be a Ticat next season. And in my opinion, if he's not a Ticat next season, I don't think any team is willing to take the risk on him. There, I said it. I don't think Lawrence will be around next season if he's not a Ticat. And I don't think the Ticats are going to re-sign him. I don't. They just released Duke Williams and I'm blanking on the other guy's name. Edwards, I believe. I forget what his first name is. But they just released them. Duke has underperformed post-pandemic. Edwards has quite the history, that's what we'll call it, of questionable moments. I will link a compilation down in the description of some of his more interesting moments, what the Twitter user describes as a highlight reel. But to me, Lawrence leaving the CFL, I would not have an issue with that. Lawrence is a player I've never liked. I'd be okay if he left the league. In my opinion, to make this league perfect, remove two things from it. Number one, Bo Levi Mitchell. I do not like the guy. Plain and simple. He's a tremendous player. He's a future Hall of Famer. I don't like him. Plain and simple. He just rubs me the wrong way, so to say. Remove thing number two, Simone Lawrence. He has a dirty past. He hasn't done anything to make up for it. As far as I'm aware, he hasn't even apologized to the players he has hurt in the past. So, yeah, I would not be against seeing him leave. I'm not sure what he's like as a person, but as a player, I'm not a huge fan of him. But on to someone who I am a fan of, both as a player and a person. Chris Streveler. The Rider fan actually likes Streveler. For those of you who do not remember, Streveler was a key part in the Winnipeg Blue Bombers 2019 Grey Cup run. Him and Zach Collaros were a nasty 1-2 punch at their quarterbacking position. They platooned quarterbacks and they made it work. Streveler, this man, he could run like few quarterbacks. Not only was he fast, he was strong. He shook players off left, right, and center. He's been trying to make it in the NFL. I feel like he just needs an NFL team to give him a shot, and he could be a consistent starting quarterback. Not necessarily like a superstar on a Patrick Mahomes level, but definitely a player like a Ryan Fitzpatrick who doesn't necessarily make his home with just one team, but kind of bounces around team to team and is consistently in number one or number two. So I feel like that's what Streveler could be doing in the NFL if teams gave him the shot, but for whatever reason, they just haven't. So he might be coming back to the CFL. It sounds like the Bombers are the front runners to bring him back, which, of course they are. Of course. Don't let the Rider fan cheer for players he likes. Nope, don't do it. God forbid. But I don't know. I don't know if that would be the right move for the Bombers. Because there's no guarantee they'll bring Drew Brown back this offseason. I think they should do everything in their power to try. But there's no guarantee he will. Collaros is still their number one, at least for the next 1 to 2 years. So bringing a potential third quarterback into this mix? I don't know, it seems like too many cooks in the kitchen. Now, knowing the CFL, I feel like Chris Jones might just be like, you know what? Forget Trey Ford. Streveler is on number two. We're going to have McLeod Bethel Thompson, Chris Streveler, and Trey Ford can, I don't know, hold a clipboard or something. No, I'm joking. I don't think, I hope not, anyway. Like, I hope that Chris Jones wouldn't do that. You can't put anything past him, though, because he tried to make Deron Carter a defensive back. But, yeah, I think Streveler coming back to the CFL would be a huge marketing opportunity, not just for the league, but for whatever team he ends up signing with. Because Streveler spent one season as a star in Winnipeg, and Bomber fans in general, but the whole CFL still talks about him. Because that's the kind of impact a player like him can have on a fan base. The dude was funny. Like, I'm pretty sure he's American, but he still did one of the most Canadian things I've ever seen. At the Grey Cup parade in 2009, this man wore a giant fur coat, smoking a cigar, drinking beer while holding the Grey Cup in sub-zero weather. That is Canada boiled down to a nutshell. You gotta love it. You really do. I think that is still one of the funniest things I've ever seen in the CFL. The CFL has seen some real things. Everything from extreme weather games to the league trophy going missing. Yes, the CFL lost their championship on multiple occasions. Look, the CFL has a lot of weird stories. I would suggest doing research into it if you want to hear those stories, because there's a lot of really, really funny stories behind everything with the CFL, if I'm being completely honest. But enough with the CFL, let's move on to junior hockey. So, in last week's episode, I said the Broncos needed to make a trade for another defenseman. Well, they did. Unfortunately, they made the trade before the video went live, but after it was recorded and edited and up on YouTube, just private. So I looked like an idiot. The Broncos did make a trade, which I'm happy about. They got a skilled defenseman out of Calgary. They actually made a trade for their captain, Tyson Galloway. The Broncos gave up a second and third round pick in the 2026 draft. I like this trade. Broncos didn't have to give up a player to get him. Well, not directly. I'll get into that. But Galloway, of what I've seen of him, it's still very limited. But of what I've seen of him, he's a skilled player. He's in position consistently. He has good puck sense. He seems to always know where everyone is on the ice. Or if he doesn't, he at least makes it look like he does, if that makes any sense. But like I said, the Broncos didn't give up a player directly. Tyson Galloway is a 20-year-old. The Broncos already had 3 20-year-olds. In the WHL, you can only have a maximum of 3 20-year-olds. That means the Broncos had to trade someone. Unfortunately, they had to trade a player I really like, Tyson Levenshire. He's a very skilled player. I've heard some people say he's underperforming this season, but to me that feels like they're not looking at the whole picture. Because yes, Levenshire doesn't necessarily have the highest goal or assist totals, but he's all over the ice this season. He's been really solid defensively. He's been a tremendous leader of what I've heard. He's been a tremendous leader for the Broncos, and he was traded to the Victoria Royals in exchange for a 5th round pick in the 26th draft. It hurts to see a player I really like get traded, but that's the nature of sports. It's going to happen. But I think this is a trade that, on the whole, will make the Swift Current Broncos a better team. They really needed to tighten up their defense, and they already had a significant surplus of goal scoring, especially with their new top line. Bernie, Misselbacher, and Geeky. These 3 were just randomly thrown together in the game against Brandon on Friday. They looked really good. They really, really did. They were just skating circles around the Wheat Kings all night long, passing it like they're almost playing monkey in the middle with the Wheat Kings players. And it's not like Brandon's necessarily a bad team, at least not in my eyes. I'm not sure what their record is on the season, but they played solid. It was a really hard-fought first period. Reed Dick also made his return. Finally! The goalie's back. Finally, our starting goaltender is back. He was a little shaky to begin the game, but he also hasn't played since early November. He allowed a really rough goal at one point where a Bronco defender attempted to stop a one-time pass across the crease by poke checking the puck, and he poked it right through Reed Dick's legs, and it was an own goal. Broncos still ended up winning the game 7-3. Very good game. Broncos Broncos and Wheat Kings were tied 3-3 headed into the second period. When the Broncos threw together that new top line, they really clicked. I can't wait to see them play a full game on Tuesday. Like I said, I record on Monday, so by the time this podcast is live, the game will have already happened. But I can't wait to see what this line can do in a full game, and I can't wait to see what it can do down the stretch of the season. But like I said, the Broncos got their starting goaltender back. So that meant they had 3 goaltenders on the roster. They had to send someone down. They sent Matthew Keeper down to AAA. They also sent Van Egger down to AAA. Both are very good players. They will both likely be back with the Broncos next season, and they're just down there for the remainder of the season. In fact, to my understanding, Keeper will actually be returning if his AAA season ends before the Broncos season does. So he'll likely be back for a potential playoff run for the Broncos. That is really good news. Keeper is a good player. He managed to hold his own when we needed him to. Rocha, he's the bona fide backup in Swift. Dick is the bona fide starter. Both very good players. Keeper would be at least a backup, if not a starter, on almost any other WHL team. The Broncos just have really developed a habit of getting really good goalies, such as Stuart Skinner, such as Isaac Porter, such as Joel Hofer, and now most recently Reed Dick, and then likely Joey Rocha, and now we have Matthew Keeper to back up for Rocha next season. I like it. That's a solid 1-2-3 lineup for goalies, and we're going to have a goalie combo next season that I'm very happy with. I think it's going to be a very fun couple years in Swift, and I think this is a very exciting time for the Broncos. I think they can really make some noise in the playoffs. I think after this Galloway trade, Broncos have a real shot to get to the Edge North Cup, which is the WHL Championship. Once you get that deep in the playoffs, any series can go any way. I think the Broncos have a real shot to win their second championship since I've been there, which is absolutely insane to think about because it was a around 20-year gap between the last WHL championship and the one they won when I was there. Most recently. So, yeah, I think the Broncos have a very real shot to do something really cool this season and at least get to the championship again. Maybe even win it. Hell, maybe even take a shot at the Memorial Cup. They got screwed in the past. Not by the refs or anything, just lots of injuries in their last Memorial Cup appearance. And they just lost lots of key players. I think the Broncos have a real shot to do some damage in the playoffs. I think they will get to the WHL Championship. And once you get there, both teams have a legitimate shot to win. Can't wait to see how the playoffs go. I'm even headed to Moose Jaw this weekend with the Swift Current Broncos fan bus to watch the Broncos take on the Warriors in Moose Jaw. Going to get a couple new pucks. I'm excited for it. It's going to be a good time. I haven't seen the Warriors arena since they rebranded to the new Jet logo. Can't wait to see the game presentation. It's going to be fun. Well, that's everything I have for you guys this week. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you're on Spotify, be sure to follow the 13th Man Podcast Network. I hope you guys all have a great day and a great week. Stay safe, stay strong, you got this. This is Jackie for Prairie Sports Talk, signing off.